Well, welcome everyone. My name is Casper Stockham with ASA Network, and I'm very fortunate to have an interview today with a good friend of mine named Gary Patton. I want to introduce you to Gary, and I want to have him share some things with us about what's going on with his new book and new venture. So Gary understands that change is choice, and during a 3-year period, he went through 13 life-changing events. He faced these challenges in life and bounced back to achieve even higher levels of success than ever before. He knows how to drive change not only in himself, but in the companies he works with. In 2011, Gary joined On Purpose Leadership as the Chief Connecting Officer after moving to Denver. Gary brings a unique combination of sales skills, training, and operational expertise that he's used to help his clients identify new market opportunities, forge key relationships, and turn around unproductive territories to significantly increase market share, revenues, and profitability. In 2012, Gary became a Bob Burg certified Go-Giver coach. I want to hear some about that, and is licensed and trained to teach the Go-Giver philosophy, methodology, and the endless referral system. Now, in 2013, Gary released his new book, Stepping Up to an On-Purpose Life, which I have a copy of this book in my hand. I've already cracked it open and started to check it out, so we're going to talk about that as well. So, Gary, welcome to ASA Network.
Thank you, Casper. It's an honor to be here today.
Well, I'm excited to talk to you and stuff, so let me get right into it. Now, I've given the members some of your bio, but I want you to kind of share some of your background with us, if you would.
Okay, I've got over 28 years of experience working with Fortune 1000 companies, anywhere from running restaurants for companies like Bennigan's, Red Lobster, and Olive Garden, to Aramark Uniform Services, to AT&T Wireless, and then Nextel and Sprint. From there, like you mentioned before, I went through a series of life-changing events that really set me back in my life and really forced me to take a look at myself and make those changes necessary to gain the success I once had.
Well, that's awesome. Now, and then I know that you recently moved here to Denver a couple of years ago. So how did you go from this, what were the kind of the defining moments or whatever to go from that to now working with On Purpose Leadership?
Well, thanks for asking that, because it's kind of an interesting story. I moved to Denver in August of 2010. I had flown out in July and received an offer from a local telecom company to start working with them in August. Received an offer letter, spent my own money to move here, and when I reported for work the first day, I gave the offer letter to the receptionist. She kind of looked at me funny and then went to the back and brought somebody out to talk to me. And as the gentleman came out, he was kind of laughing as he looked at my offer letter. And so I said, "Excuse me, in my career, I've looked at hundreds of offer letters and written hundreds of them in my management positions, and I've yet to laugh at one. Could you tell me what's so funny about it?" And he said, "I don't need you. I fired this guy last month." And then he just turned around and left me standing there in my lobby, and that was my welcome to Denver moment.
Wow. Oh, my goodness.
So, it's interesting because you feel kind of bad after that happens. And at the time, I was living in a hotel with my dog, Kaylee, and really, when I moved here, I weighed 270 pounds. I had longer hair and a full beard and, not exactly hireable material. And decided to cut my hair and shave my beard and start interviewing, and went on a series of about 40 interviews and was getting the same results every time. Everybody kept looking at my resume and telling me I was overqualified. But after you hear that about 40 times, you start realizing, hey, it's not them, it's me. Really, the reason I wasn't getting the jobs wasn't because I was overqualified. It was because I was fat, had a bad attitude, and really was unhireable at the time. So I needed to make that change. And in December of 2010, I went and saw a gentleman named Darren Hardy speak in San Diego, California at a seminar. And his new book had just come out called The Compound Effect. And as I sat there in that audience of over 20,000 people, that proverbial light bulb went off over my head when he said, really, the premise of the book is simple. Make small, smart choices on a consistent basis over time, and it'll equal a radical difference in your life. And you know, Casper, that's exactly what I needed, that radical difference in my life.
Well, amen to that, because that's pretty much what we're about here at ASA, is, step by step and decision by decision. I have a saying I like to use, and it's, you can change your direction overnight, but you can't change your destination overnight. But your direction determines your destination.
It's so true. And, really that was the moment I decided I need to make that change in my life. And the problem was I didn't have a system, but I knew I could start somewhere. So I bought a copy of Darren's book, and I followed the program in it. The next book I bought when I got back to the hotel back in Denver was a book called Endless Referrals by Bob Burke. Mm-hmm. And that kind of changed my life as far as networking. So I decided I needed to surround myself with better people and start reading again and do the things that made me successful in the first place. So I read about 160 books in less than 2 years. I listened to hundreds of CDs by the best in the business: Jim Rohn, Darren Hardy, Bob Burke, Brendan Burchard, Tom Hopkins, Anthony Robbins. We could go on and on about that, but it was really about there's three things that influence your life, and that's what you put in your head, where you hang out, and who you hang out with. And at that time, I was doing none of those things right. So I kind of did a 180-degree turn and really looked at creating a program for myself that was going to allow me to bounce back from really the lowest point in my life to gaining the success I had at one time and really even exceeding that.
Wow, so you changed your direction.
Change of direction, exactly.
There you go. Now I know you just released your new book and stuff, and like I said, I saw you the other day at your book signing, and man, it's already looking like it's taken off already. So kind of tell us how the book came about, and tell us what it's about, and what you're hoping readers get from it.
Sure, it's kind of another interesting story. Like I mentioned, I started following Darren Hardy's program, and at the time I mentioned I weighed 270 pounds. Well, the first thing I decided to do was I had to feed my mind and really change my lifestyle. So I went on a diet. I got rid of all the junk food. I started eating healthy, drinking a lot of water, and exercising every day. And what happened was I lost weight, and I decided, okay, now it's time to get out in the world. So I started attending some networking events and following the advice in Endless Referrals and meeting the people who were putting on the events, and they'd start introducing me to people. And pretty soon people were asking my story, and I'd tell them about my life and how things had changed after I moved here. And they said, that's a great story. Will you come out and tell our group about it? So pretty soon I became a speaker. And really, when I opened myself up to people and letting them know, hey, this is what happened to me, and we're all had these life-changing events in our lives. And we mentioned that I went through around 13 to 16, depending on what you call a life-changing event. The loss of my dad to cancer, an ATV accident in Mexico, which led to 8 surgeries, 2 staph infections from there where I had to be re-hospitalized, losing my job, getting divorced, becoming addicted to Percocet, and let's just say I lost a lot of money in a couple years. So really, I had a lot of things that were going on, and I really needed a system. So I spent some money and a lot of time following the best in the business, the Brian Tracy's, the Tom Hopkins, the Harvey McKays, and everybody contributed a little bit. But one thing I noticed was there was no one book on how to turn your life around. So as I started speaking to these groups, they kept asking, where's your book? We want to buy a copy of it. And I'd have to tell them what book. Right. I'm not a writer. Right. So it turns out to be an interesting thing.
No, I get it. So So stepping up to an on-purpose life is now. Is it about your life, or is it kind of a? Because I know she used the Charlie Simmons. So is Charlie Simmons a little bit of you in there? Or?
Charlie Simmons is a lot of me in there. In fact, everybody in the book is a real person. The names have been changed. The dog in there is my dog, actually, who's just sitting here under my desk as we talk right now. We're fortunate enough where we'd be out on a walk. We'd be by the river on a bike path, and we'd run into these people who would teach me lessons. They'd give me a book to read, or they'd talk about something. And it was actually an awakening that I had that allowed me to learn the information.
That's awesome. That is awesome. All right, so so what do you think would be really good advice to give our members when it comes to success in business? You know, what are your thoughts on being successful?
You know, I think it starts with setting your goals. Brian Tracy talks about goal setting and the power of it, and then having that vision to go along with it. And once you have your vision of where you want your life to be, I know you and I have talked about this a lot, and we've seen each other's vision boards, and those are powerful. So having that vision of what your life is going to look like when you become successful, and then looking at it every day. Mine's sitting right here next to my desk, and I look at it every morning for a few minutes in silence and just think about what it's going to be like when I achieve that, what Bob terms stratospheric success. And that's powerful. So have goals, create a vision, and then have a system. Michael Gerber in the E-Myth talks about systems allow ordinary people to achieve extraordinary results. And that's really what you need. And that's kind of why I wrote the book. It's kind of my system I put together that allowed me to achieve the success I have today.
That is awesome. That is right on target. So as we kind of close out here, are there any final thoughts you can put together for our members to kind of maybe push them over the edge a little bit? I know a lot of times we are our own worst enemy, you know, kind of standing in our own way. You know, so I like to get different people to just address that, you know, for our members to hopefully give them a little tidbit that'll cause them to get into motion.
Actually, I'll give you two quick ones. John Maxwell, my business partner is a John Maxwell certified coach, and he talks about personal growth plans. And I have a saying, in any relationship, you either grow together or you grow apart. That deals with friendship, with relationships with your spouse. It deals with your relationships at work. So look for ways to grow as a person. So buy books. Study the experts in the industry and have that growth plan. And the second thing that I think is critical to your success is get accountability partners. Somebody who's going to hold you accountable for your goals. I know we've been accountability partners before, and I actually have 6 of them. I have one for speaking. I have one for my writing. I have one for my business. I have one for my health. I have one for financial life, and I have one for sales. Do it on a weekly basis. Check in with those people that are your accountability partners for just a couple minutes a week and make sure you stay on track and then track your results. And that would be what I would have for everybody.
Wow, that's fantastic. I sure appreciate your time, Gary. You know, and we've talked often and we see each other often throughout the week and things like that. So thank you for coming out and sharing with us, and I'm really excited about your book. I'm excited to actually get through it myself as well, and I'm excited to offer it to our members. It's on our bookstore page, so you can go to any of our pages to get to our bookstore. Gary's book is on there. I strongly recommend that you pick up a copy and check it out. And I look forward to hearing some of your stories as you read his book in the future. So, Gary, thank you for your time, and that wraps up another interview for us. My name is Casper Stockham with ASA Network. You guys have an awesome day. Bye-bye for now.